What's happening, guys? So today we've had a little more success with the EVGA auto notification queue, and I've received an RTX 3060 XC Gaming Edition card. So stick around here for a minute, we'll get the box opened up and check it out, and then I'll install it and we'll run a few tests on it. Hang out. If you haven't already done so, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Thanks. Alright, so you can see we got the card that came in the mail today. This, again, XC Gaming Edition RTX 3060 card from EVGA. Got notified about this a couple days ago and had it shipped and arrived earlier this afternoon. It's about 7 p.m. right now. I think it got here about 1-ish. And gonna go ahead and open up the box here and see what it comes with. This is a pretty small box compared to some of the cards we've been looking at, like any of those 3090s, of course, are going to be a lot bigger box. But like this is about the size of the end of the box of one of the other bigger cards I've had. It's looks like it's pretty similar in size. I did a video a while back. EVGA had their RTX 2060 KO edition card that came out a little while back, and I did an unboxing of one of those. This is packaged seemingly the same way as that one, where they just kind of wrap it like it's not even in like a box within the box. But we'll see if anything came with it. It doesn't look like they got any. Maybe there's like a manual in there, so a basic installation manual, and that's all I'm seeing in the box. Looks empty. That's what we got, and we don't really need that manual. So, but they wrap it in some bubble wrap for you, and you can undo that, and it'll probably be in some kind of a foam. Yeah, this is just how they did their 2060 edition KO card, so no real change in the packaging. I guess if it works, don't fix it. But like I said, I grabbed this. I'm going to be using this card in my capture PC for the Nvidia encoder. They're a little bit better this time around than they were on the previous generation, as far as I know. And then on top of that, then I can sell off my 1650 Super. With the way that GPUs are selling, I can probably at least pay a fair portion of the price of this card back off again. Probably sell it for, maybe 2/3 of what I spent on this, if I feel like selling it reasonably, which I do. So this is the little card, still in the plastic anti-static bag. So we can open this up without damaging anything. It's really, they look a lot like I had those RTX, that 3090 for the Win edition, for the Win 3 edition card. Like the back plate and so forth looks very similar to that card. So you can see like it's got the same kind of, if you guys have watched my previous videos where I unboxed the 3090 for the Win 3, like it's got the little red stripe there pretty much, and the end of the card on this one is black, but on the for the Win 3 it was red there, there was like almost like a lip on it or something. And we've got the two nice little fans. Nice looking heat sink in there. It's got some copper pipes you can see in there. Looks like it's a nice quality card. Excuse me. Pardon me. I don't think that there is any RGB or anything like that in this card. I think it's pretty much strictly just going to do the bare bones job, which is fine because again, I think this is kind of like the 2060 KO edition in terms of lighting and so forth, or like the fans are similar and all that other stuff. It's a very similar built card from what I can tell. I'm trying to get this. They got that plastic really jammed in there. All right, so got the plastic off there. There's probably some here on the little fans. I can get that off later, I suppose. It doesn't matter that much. But yep, so we see we've got 3 DisplayPort 1.4s and an HDMI 2.1. And it takes a single 8-pin PCI Express power connection, and to my understanding the card's total power draw is 170 watts, which is pretty reasonable power draw. Pretty low on something like this. You could put this in like a nice little ITX build or something. Although from what I understand, the 3060s, like the performance really isn't particularly great this generation. Like they're really not much better than like a 2060, and in some things they're even slower than like a 2060 Super. So may not be all that mind-blowing on the performance, but it is a nice looking little card. Like I say, nice little back plate, nice front plate. It's fan. Looks like they probably do a pretty good job. and it should work with EVGA Precision X1. But the specs are, it has 3,584 CUDA cores. The boost clock is 1882 megahertz, which is kind of a strange boost clock, but whatever. 12 gigs of GDDR6 on 192-bit memory interface. 12 gigs is like, that's another thing people have been commenting on, is like, why is there 12 gigs of video memory on this card? The card isn't powerful enough to run at resolutions that would use the 12 gigabytes. Like, really, this could have been a 6 gig card, and they could have dropped the price a bit. So I don't really understand their thought process. The MSRP on this card is $389, which is what I paid for it. Obviously, scalpers are trying to go crazy. I've seen cards like this for as expensive as like $900 on the Facebook market, which is just not commensurate with the card's performance. Even without trying one, just from what I've read and what I've seen on like Paul's Hardware and some different channels like Jay's 2 Cents, you know, Tech Jesus, they're talking about how this card, you know, 3060s in general are just like, the performance is not commensurate at all with the kind of price that people are trying to get out of them. But, you know, people are desperate for GPUs, so I can kind of understand to some degree, but I don't think I'd pay any more than like, you know, like $400 for a 3060. If people are trying to, I know some people out there, you know, they really can't get a card, they're really desperate to get something, but I got in the EVGA queue for this when the card launched on February 25th, so like just over 2 months ago, and just got notified about it, like I say, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago that they notified me. So it took me 2 months to get notified on this one. It took me 3 months to get notified on my Kingpin card. So you got to be patient, unfortunately. But at least with EVGA, it's a little sketchy. Like, some of their cards, I've been in the queue since like late September of last year and still have never been notified. Like 3080s, never been notified on those. 3060 Ti, I got in the queue for those like the day that they launched, and I've not been notified on one of those either. So it's weird how certain cards are being produced faster, I guess, than other ones. I'm sure there's different demand levels, of course, and the queue sizes for each card is going to be different. So it's going to be hard to find, like I say, you know, necessarily a commonality as to why one card will get delivered to you faster than another one will. It's unfortunate that so many people are having such a hard time getting what they want, and so I'm, you know, I can kind of understand or feel you guys' pain. And, you know, you might, some people I understand are kind of getting, like, I've had some different reactions on the channel because people have been unable to get their card, and I think people are getting kind of annoyed that I've been having success. So I guess, give me 1 second here. I hope the lighting isn't bothering you guys behind my head. It is what it is. So, like, basically to describe, like, what I've done to get cards, and I've still, I mean, I've had pretty good success. I'm not trying to brag. I've been able to buy 5 RTX 3090s, and now I've bought this 3060, and then I bought the 1650 Super that's in my system right now that I'm replacing with this card. Now, I got the 1650 Super off Craigslist, which you just have to watch stuff all the time. I don't know how else to put it, and I'm sure a lot of you are doing it, so it's not like you're, you know, not doing the right thing. I'm not trying to infer that, but I understand that there's frustration, and so I'm just going to tell you guys what I've done to have the success that I've had. You know, it helps to have either the cash on hand or a credit card that you can afford to load up and then pay off quickly later on. But you've got to have a payment method ready. Whatever sites you're using, like, again, I use the EVGA site, I use Newegg, and get in their Shuffle. I've not had any luck with the Shuffle, but I've been in it every day. Well, maybe missed one here or there. I think I forgot today, but just in general, you know, I get in the Shuffle because if, you know, if I can get something, I'm trying to get cards for friends too. So this isn't just for me. Like, there's several people that I work with, including like the director of my, you know, of my office, or my section anyway. He is big into PC gaming, and I've built PCs for him before. I built like 8 PCs for him and his family and his kids and stuff. So I look out for parts for people like that. And so anyways, Craigslist is an option. There's a lot of scalpers, of course, but once in a while, like with that 1650 Super that I got that for like $240, which you may think that's basically retail for that card. And it was used, but it wasn't heavily used. It's in perfect condition and it works fine. So you can find deals on Craigslist. The other one is Facebook Market, which is basically Craigslist, but I like it more actually because you don't involve your phone number with it, so you don't get spam calls and stuff or texts and bullshit. You just get messages directly from people who are selling things. So you can get stuff through there. I haven't really bought anything on there from anybody, but I have sold stuff on there. But there are people on there selling stuff on a semi-regular basis. It's just, once again, a lot of them are trying to scalp. There's a few guys here locally in Louisville that are notorious on there. I'm not going to say their names, but they know who they are. So I found some bad prices on there for that kind of stuff. But you can get stuff on Facebook Market. You can get it on Craigslist. Again, Newegg, and then Best Buy, because the Newegg has their the shuffle. EVGA has the queue, like the auto notify queue. If you don't know how to do it, basically what you have to do is have an account on the EVGA site. You go there, you click on the card that you want, and there's a button that'll say auto notify. You click that, you put in your name and your email address, and after that you're automatically in the queue. And when your number comes up in the queue, it's just first come, first served. They'll email you about it. You have 8 hours to go make the purchase, and then they'll ship it out like normal. Like I said, I've bought multiple cards through their site. I think this is the third one I've got through them during this shortage of GPUs. So you can do it. It's just, like I said, you might be waiting a couple months, but at least you'll have something on the back burner. And if you find something in between now and then, you can always not buy it when your number comes up. Or you can get it anyway and then do something with the other card you bought. So that's a good option. And then the Best Buy site, I've bought a couple cards through successfully, but that's kind of been more difficult lately. I haven't seen any cards on their site at all lately, but I may have just have been missing it. I haven't looked as hard as I was. But I bought two 3090s directly through their site. So they have a kind of a queue system, but it's like a first come, first serve plus queue system, where it's like if the card goes on sale, you click add to cart, and then it will turn, like the button turns gray for like 5 or 10 minutes, and you have to wait for it to flip over to yellow again, and when you hit it the second time, then it actually adds to your cart, and when you go to the checkout, it is reserved for you at that point, where you'll be able to make the purchase, usually. Now, I've had it still screw up at that point, and then act like the card was in stock, and then not let me complete the transaction, because enough people probably try to do it at the same time that the site gets messed up, and then you still can't make the purchase. That's annoying. So that's happened to me a couple times when I tried to get an AMD 6900 XT, which I was trying to get a while back, and again, wasn't able to make that happen. That was before I got my Kingpin anyway, so I don't really care that much about that anymore. I did want to play with one, but like I say, I'm pretty satisfied with what I've got. So anyways, that's my advice on how to get a card. There's different sites you can try. I know that they have like Discord servers that you can listen for, like when product launches happen, so that's cool. If you can get in on that and you can successfully jump on something, great. But I tend to keep open, like when I'm working or something, I'll have a browser tab open to a few different sites, and periodically I'll just go in and refresh it. You don't gotta sit there and like watch it like a hawk, but you can go in and refresh it a few times, once an hour, something like that, if you think of it, and maybe you'll be lucky and you'll hit it. It's kind of like playing a lottery at this point, but you can make it happen. So hopefully that's been useful information for you guys. Next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is get this card installed into the system. I'll run a couple simple benchmarks, like we're going to go ahead and run like just basically 3DMark benchmarks. If there's any games you guys want me to test out, I can probably do that, but I didn't want to put it in my main system because I'd have to take the Kingpin out of there, and that's a pain in the neck because it's got the radiator in there and a bunch of fans connected to it and stuff, and that would be kind of irksome to try to undo all that. And then, like I say, I think putting it on the capture PC would be fine anyway. I just don't have a lot of games installed on it. So again, if you guys want me to test something specific, let me know. But I'm just going to do like 3DMark benchmarks and maybe like superposition today, because those are already installed and they're quick downloads anyway. So, all right, give me a second here. We'll install the card and we will test it out. All right, so you can see here I got a PNY GTX 1650 Super. That's the one I got off Craigslist for MSRP from a nice younger man who was trying to sell it off to upgrade other components in his system. And you can see that the 3060 is a bit physically larger, but not significantly. And this uses a 6-pin, and this will be using an 8-pin, so this uses a little bit more power. But again, it's a fairly nice small card. Doesn't take a lot of power. Nice for a little system like this. See, I still got my AverMedia capture card in here. We're just going to go ahead and use it for the Nvidia encoder. And then the nice thing about this is it's a fairly lightweight system as well. So it's like if I wanted to go up and visit my folks or something and bring a desktop with me, I'd be able to do some 1080p gaming or something with that 3060 and just drag this system with me. It weighs a hell of a lot less than my big super tower systems. But excuse me, give me a second here. We'll go ahead and pull out the one card and install the other one. Let's see. Alright, there we go. So this has just got the one big fan on it versus, you know, we've got two smaller fans on the 3060. But nice little card. It was doing the job just fine. But like I say, having the opportunity to upgrade a little bit is always cool. So now we've got our 3060. We'll take off our connection cover for the PCI Express connector and the little backplate mounting bracket cover. There's include like little rubber grommets to cover those things. Sorry, I'm bumping the camera here. Kind of hard to do this with one hand, but oh, come on now. One moment here. Well, I don't know why that thing was not wanting to cooperate and get in there, but I did finally get it in. It's just like, for some reason, it being two slots, like it wasn't fitting into the back of the case for whatever reason, but it's in there now. We got our power connector hooked up, and should be ready to give it a test run. I'm just going to, like I say, run a couple benchmarks and call it good, but if you guys have any requests, let me know in the comment section. Okay, so I got the card installed, everything's up and running. I got the fans running at 70% because it's been pretty hot lately, and to keep the temperature decent at idle, I gotta run the fans kind of high. If I shut them off, it was idling in the 40s, so I'm gonna leave them on 70 for now. One thing I found is that I can enable resizable bar support on this card, even though this is a slightly older system platform. This is a 9th gen i7 with the Z390 chipset, but I went to the MSI website and found that they did have a BIOS update which added support. Now this is saying that it's disabled. It's not actually disabled, but Precision X1, since they updated to version 1.1.9.0, will tell you that your resizable bar is disabled even when it's not. You can see though GPU-Z is reporting that it is enabled. So basically you just need UEFI BIOS. You need the latest GPU driver. If you don't have the correct video BIOS, it'll let you. There'll be a button here to flash it, but this card came with it pre-flashed apparently. When I had my Kingpin card, I had to flash resizable bar BIOS using this. Like again, there was a button here, and then like I say, the BIOS for your motherboard has to have resizable bar support. The BIOS I had on this system, again, it's a bit of an older machine, did not have that, but I went to their site and found that they put one out in like mid-January that added WeBar support. So very cool to get a little extra performance out of the card that I wasn't expecting to get. It shouldn't affect 3DMark benchmarks, but it does affect certain games like Cyberpunk. Not that I'm going to probably play Cyberpunk on the 3060, but just if you wanted to play the game in 1080p and get a little extra performance, get that resizable bar if you can. If your system isn't too old, and I would just go to your motherboard manufacturer's site and check. That doesn't hurt to look. It doesn't take long to flash the BIOS. If you know, it takes about 10 minutes total. Just mostly waiting for it to do it. So with that said, we'll go ahead and run some benchmarks and see how they pan out. All right, so we got our score here, just over 8,000 in regular time SPI, and you can see the GPU clock didn't really change much. It was 1882 it says is like the base clock, and it got up to like 1927. Temperature capped at 63 degrees, which isn't really amazing considering that really isn't that long of a test. That means it's not really getting the best cooling pretty much, and of course frame rate's all over the place, whatever. But see here, maybe we can find out GPU temperature. Yeah, maxed at 63.6, and let's see, the core maxed out at 1935. Memory clock maxed at 1875, so that pretty much didn't change. So that was time SPI, regular time SPI. That's not time SPI Extreme Edition or anything. And again, this is nothing's overclocked here. We can't overclock the processor anyway. These are all stock frequencies, but not too bad result for the first go around here. We'll start up next test here in a second. Alright, so this test was Port Royal, got about a 5,000, which if you compare that to like, you know, like my Kingpin system with my 11900K, even at stock, that one got about 14,000. So definitely a big difference in the performance, but I mean, that's obviously understandable. This is about a $380 card versus about a $2,200 card, but just that's that's the results there. We'll look at the temperatures and so forth again, because like I say, this card is definitely running a little bit on the warmer side. Let's see what it says the max was that time. It still says it's only maxed out about 64 degrees, and that runs a little bit harder on the that's a pretty hard GPU test. And with Time Spy, like, it jumps from one test to another, and there's little breaks in between where the temperature kind of has a chance to cool back off, whereas Port Royal is just one long GPU intensive test, and it's still capped out. Actually, it says it didn't even get quite as high that time. It got to about 61 or 62, so that's not too bad. Core clock again looks like 1935 is about where it wants to cap out at, so nothing really nothing new really to report there. It looks like the temperatures and so forth and everything's about the same way. Now I think if I were to, you know, let this thing run on an actual like GPU burn-in test for a while, you'd see the temperature at least into the 70s. It depends on how high you want to crank up the fans. At 78% though, the fans are basically silent. You could probably hear a fan in the background, but that's actually like my desk fan. It is, like I say, a little bit warm in here. Even with the AC running, I'm upstairs and it gets a little bit hot, so it's not running like as maybe as cool as you'd want it to. Depending, like if this was winter here, like it gets pretty cold in this condo in the wintertime. It'd probably be 10 degrees colder on the GPU, but yeah, did a pretty good job on that. We'll do one more test and then we'll probably call it good. And if anybody has any requests at that point, you guys can just ask me for to run something specific. But give me one sec. Alright, so I did a regular Fire Strike benchmark, which scored 18,193 points. And again, we can see core clock 1935, so no real change there. Looks like that's pretty much where it wants to peg out every time. And GPU temp looks like it didn't get as high that time, only in the 50s. That's not nearly as high end of a test as like Port Royal, for example, so I'm not going to have quite the same temperature issues that time. But it seems like it's running everything pretty well. Like I say, if you wanted to play games in 1080p, I mean, this would be a good card to get. Maybe some light 1440p, but probably pretty much just 1080p. Like I said, we did do like a little bit of ray trace testing with Port Royal, and it did pretty well for what it is. So that said, I guess if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and ask them in the comment section below. It looks like the temperatures, like I said, are getting into the low to mid 60, like 64 is about where it capped out in like a 7-minute test. So actual gaming scenarios where you're going to be playing something for an hour or more at a time, I guarantee the card's going to get into the mid 70s range, but it depends on your environment, of course. So like if you're living if you have a very temperature controlled environment, it probably won't be such a big deal. And if you have, but if you live someplace warmer, it might be a bigger problem. Case airflow is an issue. Like the case that I have it in isn't like a real roomy case. There isn't a bunch of fans in there, etc. So that plays a role as well. So let's just say that conservatively, the car is going to probably run around 70 to 72 degrees with the fans where they are at about 70%. Might get a little bit warmer than that if you have them on auto, unless it's going to ramp up to like 100%. Like, just set your fan curve accordingly to how much noise you want to tolerate. But that said, again, if you guys have any questions, ask in the comment section below. Please consider giving the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Most of the people who view my videos, for some reason, opt not to subscribe. So, I would appreciate your assistance in that. But thanks for watching again, and we'll talk to you guys again real soon. Take care.